in 1972, a young Kevin Amos and Glenda graduated at Avondale, Kevin in ministry and Glenda in teaching. They soon married and together have busied themselves living a Theodore Roosevelt quote, doing what they can with what they have wherever they have been, and with no sign of stopping. Kevin and Glenda are the citation recipients for the class of 1972. Kevin and Glenda, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glenda, can you tell me where you and Kevin are living now, what you're both up to, what's keeping you busy these days?
Okay, well, we're both living in the Avondale Adventist Senior Living Village here in Alton Villas and in Cooranbong. And I guess we're still involved in ministry to some extent. Kevin's the elder at the Toronto Church, and he also is the resident committee here for the village. He does some online Zoom Bible studies during the weeknights for people around the world for the Incredible Journey Ministry with Gary Kent. He's on the Alira House board, which is a women's refuge in the area, and also on the Catalina Conference Centre board, which is a place for respite, holiday accommodation for people with disabilities. And he assists in the community, church community garden at Toronto as well, during the week. So yeah, we kind of keep busy. And for myself, I do a day on a Monday at the Incredible Journey, sending out the free offers for people who request them over the weekend. And during the week, I mark the online Bible studies for them as well. I'm been working with the Women's Christian Temperance Union for quite a few years, and I'm currently the treasurer for that, and have also in the past worked in the drug-free kids area in putting out a paper for kids about drugs and why not to take drugs. I'm part of the quilting care group at Toronto Church, where we make quilts for people who are in crisis, particularly with bushfires, floods, and also for the palliative care unit at Toronto Hospital. And just last week, we sent 67 quilts to the Lismore area for people up there. So that's something that I feel that we can really have an impact on people with that. And just, yeah, at the moment, I'm also on the committee for Veterans of the Cross Conference, which is going to be held at Avondale University in September for the pastoral ministry family. So that's taking a bit of planning at the moment.
That's an extensive list. Tell me, are you busier in retirement than before?
Yep.
We are looking forward to retirement.
I bet you are. But what you're doing sounds incredibly important, and appreciate that you're doing that in the communities. Let's jump back to the late 60s and 70s. Kevin, you were an architectural draftsman before you even headed to Avondale. How did you come to a place where you chose a really different path of pastoral ministry?
As a young person growing up in Hamilton, New Zealand, my mother involved me. She was the kids' Sabbath school leader. And I can remember as a 12, 13-year-old being asked to teach the kindy kids Bible classes. Later, I became involved with Pathfinders, and certainly I enjoyed that kind of ministry with young people. And while I started out in architectural draftsman, I thought, there's something more I can do with my life rather than just making money. And so some kind of ministry was why I decided to head off to Avondale.
So, Kevin, you've said that you were computer dated with Glenda. Now, I'm pretty sure that there were typewriters and possibly even electric typewriters when you were at college or at Avondale here. Not many computers on site, I'm guessing. So how did you really meet?
Okay, the first major Saturday night event, Dr. Laurie Draper and Ken Thompson decided to use the Newcastle University computer to match couples together. So as you went through registration, you filled up a paper giving details about yourself and then stating preferences in an order. And on the evening, the girls were spaced around the auditorium, A to Z. And I went and collected a card, Kevin Amos, and behind it was a computer punch card with the name Glenda Coombe. And so I walked into the auditorium and I went ABC. Now I saw a lady girl, Wendy Barrett. And so I sidled up to her and I said, Wendy, do you know a Glenda Coombe? And she says, yes, she's standing next to me. And it was Glenda actually standing next to her. So that is my first memory of meeting Glenda.
Well, that was very pioneering of Avondale to have that approach to meeting people, wasn't it?
Mm.
Glenda, you studied teaching at Avondale. What was the approach for a career path for yourself, I guess, in accordance with your husband's career path in ministry?
In some ways, thinking about it, there didn't seem to be a career path for me. I became a mum, and I think that's my career. I love being a mum, and I guess I really wasn't concerned about having a teaching career, and I just found opportunities to work in between as they became available. I kind of look back, I don't know that I ever felt a call to teaching. I always saw it kind of as a good starting place because you could go from there into kind of anything. I always loved accounting work. Why didn't I do that at college? Probably because it was kind of more, there weren't that many girls doing accounting. It was more looked at as a male role, I guess. And so teaching was easier. And I thought, oh, well, you know, it'll be good for having kids as well. It helps you to know how to deal with them. So I guess my life's been a mixture of both teaching, accounting, mothering, pathfinder work. Yeah.
Kevin, I know you've stayed in ministry, but tell me the positions that you've been in and, you know, where, I guess, since you actually graduated from Avondale.
I mean, as Glenda mentioned initially to Canberra, you start at the top and then you work your way down from there. But we spent 3 years out at Griffith in Leeton Narrandera in the Murrumbidgee. From there, we were called to the mission field where we went to Manus Island. It was an amazing experience being asked to go to Manus and then saying to Glenda, let's find an atlas and figure out where we've been asked to go to, because I didn't have a clue where Manus Island was. From there to Wewak, where we spent 6 years. So we spent 10 years in Papua New Guinea. And there I was the mission president, looking after 70 churches and number of schools and so on. From there, we flipped back to North New Zealand, where we spent 10 years in pastoral ministry, then across to Victoria for 4 years in pastoral ministry and administration. From there to Tasmania in church administration for 7. That's what most convicts got. And from there up to North New South Wales in pastoral ministry. So virtually every transfer that we have done has been over water and into an entirely different culture.
Tell me a little bit about your time in Papua New Guinea. You just mentioned that before. And I know you've said that life can become interesting when you open yourself to serving in a different country. How did being in Papua New Guinea with your family, not just yourself and Glenda, but with your family, impact you?
I come from a heritage of having aunties and uncles who have been missionaries. So it was let's go when we were invited. And certainly it becomes freaky then when you actually get on the plane and land in the airport in Port Moresby and then eventually to Manus. But we lived in 2 places where we were able to safely travel into the communities and spend time with the people. When the children were small, they would travel with us. As they got older, no, they stayed and attended the school straight across the road. But certainly as a family, we have learned to live cross-culturally with other people, and our children still do cross-cultural ministries even today in who they mix with and who they learn to operate with. So we see it as a real blessing that really has enhanced our ability to minister.
Glenda, you write a lot of poetry and you've recently had a book published on Amazon. I'll start with your poetry. What do you actually focus on when you're writing that?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I set out to write poetry. It's kind of one of those things that just happens. And most of it's been written, I guess, as part of my devotional life. As I've been, either journaling or something like that, I'll think about it and go, oh yeah, and I don't know, it just happens.
I'll jump to your book that I think you only published that last year, was it? Tell us what you wrote about, what your book's called.
Okay, so this is the book. So it's called At the Tick of God's Clock, Building Stories, Building Faith in God's Timing. And I guess I wrote it initially because Mum and Dad had often told us stories of how God led in their lives, and they were oral stories. And as I look back over our lives over the last few years, I've kind of thought, man, there's a lot of stories that need sharing with the family initially. And so I thought it's all very well to orally, but our family is scattered all over the world. And so maybe it would be a good idea to write a book for the family so that they know what some of these stories are, because some of those stories involve them. They might have only been babies or little at the time. And at the beginning of 2020, they ran a seniors class at college, university, on publishing ebooks. And so I did that. And the week after I finished it, lockdown commenced. Prime time to write the book. So I did. And so into 2020, I e-published it on Kindle. And then last year in lockdown again, I published it as a printed copy through Amazon. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Well, apart from your 4 children that you've looked after, you've also included and looked after other children, including some in Papua New Guinea. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
We call them our extra family members because they either came to us as teenagers or young adults. In PNG, it was because a number of young women came and lived in our house with us as our house girls. Some house girls came and just worked for the day and then went home, but we had a number of girls who were living away from home, and so they came and lived in the house with us. And so when you're living together day in, day out, you become part of the family. And so, yeah, I guess there's 3 young women that in PNG that we consider as part of our family: Evelyn, Rhoda Kana, and Susan Sahari. And then in the later years, again, we assisted a couple of young single mums. And so they've become very close to us as well. So Isel and Rose and their family have just become part of our family as well.
Well, Kevin and Glenda, for all that your hands find to do, and they have found plenty to do, you've done it with all your might. For your consistent service, for your compassionate heart for others, and for your teamwork, I want to congratulate you both on being the citation recipients for the class of 1972.
Thank you.
Well, there is more to Kevin and Glenda's story, so I encourage you to head to the Avondale Alumni Facebook page or to our website to read their citations. And if you want to send them a message, just leave a comment here on this post or send me an email at alumni@avondale.edu.au.